The whole idea of depreciation is that it's an orderly way of writing off large and maybe even small capital equipment purchases and other maybe large purchases. And there are a number of different ways that we can write off using depreciation, and we have function formulas that will allow us to figure that stuff out. So depending on the way you do your books and all that, kind of dictates which way you'll go with depreciation. I'm no accountant. I'm just showing you the tools here. You have to figure out from your accountant what is the most advisable way of writing off your assets, your capital equipment purchases by using depreciation. So what I've done here is I've set up a nice little table so we can kind of compare one against the other. I have at the top a universal amount that we're going to, or depreciate this, I guess depreciating amount that we're going to use to break down here. So we've got the cost of the asset, we've got the salvage price, and we also have the life, okay, the life expectancy. So we're going to start out with the first one, which is the declining balance. Now that function name is DB. So what we'll do is we'll start out with equal DB, all right, and we'll see DB pop up there. We can just do a double click on it. So the first thing it needs to know is the cost. So we'll click onto that. We're going to be copying these formulas down as we go. So we got to make sure that the references to these three items don't get pulled down as we're copying it down. So we click on it onto B2, hit the F4 key, hit a comma. Now it wants to know what the salvage is. We'll click onto that, F4 key, comma, and then the life. And in this case, that'll be that one there, F4, and then last but not least, comma, all right? And it wants to know the first year that we're going to be doing this on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on to A1, or I'm sorry, A7. I can't get it to it, so I'm just going to type in A and then 7, all right? And that one doesn't need to be made absolute. So then we'll go ahead and hit enter. And there it is. So that's going to be how much you'll be able to write off after the first year using the declining balance. Now we'll go ahead and we'll copy that all the way down to year 10. And there we go. I made a nice little graph here to show over the many years, over the 10 years, how much you're going to be able to write off and how it kind of declines as time goes on. So the advantage of this one, I guess, would be the fact that you can write off a heck of a lot in the very beginning. And that's pretty important, especially if you paid cash, for the asset. Now the next one we're going to do is called the double declining, and that's using the DDB function here. So we're going to do equal DDB, and we can actually just do a double click on that, all right? And we go through the same scenario again. So again, we're going to click on to the cost, F4, comma, the salvage, F4, comma, then the life, F4, comma, and then of course the period that we're starting for this one here, that'll be this one here. So we're just going to click on to A7 again. No absolute on that. We'll go ahead and hit the enter key. There we go. And then copy that down. So you can see a little bit of a difference there. So there's more, I guess there's more towards the latter years. It's more spread out, so it's a little bit less on each of those in comparison. All right. The next one is the sum of years, and that one is called SYD. That's the name of the function. So equal SY, there's your SYD. All right. Again, we're going to go ahead and click on to the cost, F4, comma, click on the salvage, F4, comma, click on to the life, F4, comma, and then the period starting out. This one's going to be period 1. And then as it's copied down, it'll be A8, A9, A10, which will follow with what you see there. We'll enter that in. That's 154, a little bit less. But you look at the graphs and you kind of get a sense of, you know, the dollars and over time and so forth. So that's another great way of, you know, comparing them to figure out which one maybe you want to go with in case you do have a choice. I have no idea. I pay an accountant, so I don't know what he does. I know what he does. I know. I mean, I rely on him. I don't need to know. So this last one's going to be the straight line. And this one pretty much is set up almost the same way, except we don't have to tell it any periods because it just gives us the same amount through the whole time. So you'll see it. So we'll do an equal SL. You'll see the SLN. There we go. And again, the cost, F4, comma, the salvage, F4, comma, and the life, F4. That's it. So it doesn't need to know the period. We hit the enter key. There's 85,000. Go ahead and copy that down. There we go. So that's just a straight line there. So pretty neat stuff. All right. So that's how you do it. Now you'll notice that we have these little green wedges in there. If we click onto one of them and then click onto the little yellow smart tag there, it says it's an unprotected formula. For some reason, when you do functions like this, it wants you to kind of lock down the worksheet so nobody can get in there and change anything. Well, we're not worried about that. So we're going to basically tell it that to just ignore that so we can get rid of that green wedgie. To do that, we pick the first one, select all of these, all right, hit the tag there, and then we can go ahead and say ignore error, and then they all go away, and that's it. So hopefully this will be of some help. Kind of gives you some ideas as to how to maybe pursue the right depreciation for you. But I think it's a great little tool there. Now, the other thing too, just keep in mind, you can go in here and you can say, well, I've got another a piece of equipment instead of the iguana containment cageopolis that we have here. We could also go ahead and put something else in there. I noticed though I didn't put a title on the chart here. We can actually, before we go any further, I'll just go here and I can put in there maybe depreciation options. There we go. All right. Anyway, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Look at that, huh? Make it bold. All right. So let's just say we've got another piece of equipment. And let's say that piece of equipment costs $2 million. All right. There we go. The salvage on it, let's just say, maybe it's a fleet of vehicles, all right? And after 10 years, the salvage value on those 10 vehicles might be, I don't know, 200,000. All right. So there you go. So now we can actually see how much you can depreciate on those assets year over year over year. So it's pretty cool. And you can see how this all comes out pretty much the same, same proportions as we had before. A little bit different because we got different salvage in there too, but overall kind of gives you some good ideas. So hopefully this will help, and I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you.